Hello, hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we will discuss the interview questions for IBM. I recently appeared for the interview of IBM, and for me the interview process was one technical round followed by managerial round, and after that HR discussion happened. Though I didn't accepted this offer because I was having some offer from some other good global investment bank, so I declined this offer. But anyway, I thought to share the interview questions with you all for IBM, as it is a good company because it gives you good work-life balance, and the quality of the projects and the on-site exposure IBM gives to you is also immense. And apart from that, this company is known to give you a lot of work from home. Okay, so if you are looking for a peaceful work-life balance, you may apply for this company, IBM. And before moving on, I request each one of you to please subscribe to my channel because it gives me a lot of motivation, and for you it will take not even a second, and for me it is a big motivation because when I every day I see my subscriber count, if it is not increasing, then I feel very demotivated. So I request again all of you to please subscribe to the channel. Okay, let us start this video. So the first question to me, like, what are solid principles in Java? Okay, so as I mentioned previously also, like this interview was for the role of Java developer for 8+ years of experience, right? So if you have more than 8+ years of experience, then definitely they will ask you these kind of design patterns and design related questions also. Okay, and for solid principles, you should be knowing this thing, like what are the solid principles. There are five solid principles. Okay, and you can Google about the answer, like what are the solid principle. Lot of definitions are available, and apart from the definition you should prepare one example of each. Okay, and apart from this solid principle, what other question I have seen is similar question is in the interview is what is 12 factor application, 12 factor app. Okay, so these two questions you should prepare from the perspective of design related question. Okay, and after that, when I am explained him like what are the solid principles, then he asked me this follow-up question, like explain Liskov substitution principle and open closed principle, right? So again, Liskov substitution principles tells us that the object of a superclass can be replaced with the object of a subclass without breaking the application. And again, open closed principle is like a class should be open for extension and closed for modification. If you search for the examples, then you will find like what I'm trying to say here. If you find any kind of difficulty, because then I will share with you in the comment section, you can comment, because normally people find little bit tricky to explain the Liskov substitution principle. Okay, and that's why out of all the solid principles, if an interviewer asks you to explain something, then in 90% cases he will ask you Liskov substitution principle. Okay guys, so the next question was like practical example of singleton design pattern. Okay, so as you are already aware, like they're on the singleton design pattern, there can be other questions like how will you define a thread safe singleton class, right? So again, but here he was asking me like in real world, where you have seen the use of singleton design pattern. So I answered him like in all the loggers, caches, thread pools, configuration settings, and device driver objects follows the singleton design pattern. And I also gave him the example of loggers, like how the loggers work for each class, right? Okay, so again, let us move to the next slide. Okay, so uh, this was the net question, like what are the bean scopes in Spring? And the fifth question is also related, like what is the life cycle of bean in a Spring container? Okay, so the guy's whole purpose of these two questions is that because now people are working with Spring Boot, they are not working with normal Spring, right? So when people were working with normal Spring, they used to bother about all these bean scopes and all these things. Okay, life cycle of a Spring container, because they need to configure and set up all these things. But now everything is happening automatically in Spring Boot. Okay, because everything is auto configured, and if you want to customize anything, then you can. So just to test the basic knowledge of a candidate in Spring concepts, I have seen this question in multiple interviews, like what are all our bean scopes available, and what is the life cycle of a bean in Spring container. Okay, guys, so the next question was again from the side of Spring, was like, what are request interceptors in Spring? So again, this question is very important, like what all are request interceptors in Spring? So guys, if if we hit some API, okay, then the request interceptors are very important to intercept that particular request and do some kind of pre-processing on that request, right? Because if you go to the Spring security, right, if you call a API, then using the request intercept, we intercept that request and do the security checks on that particular request, whether that request is coming from a genuine resource or not. Okay, so the request interceptor is internally used by Spring security, and there are lot of other uses also, like of a request interceptor. Like if you want to implement some cross-cutting concerns, or for each request you want to perform some other action. Okay, so it is very very important concept for you to understand the request interceptors in Spring. So I urge each one of you to go through this concept called request interceptors in Spring, and how to use them and what are their practical examples, right? So now we will move to the next slide. Okay, so now the next question was like, what is at the rate transactional annotation? So guys, again, if you are looking to implement the transaction management in a Spring Boot application, so you will use this annotation, but you should know inside out, like at the rate transactional annotation you will use at the service level, service IMPL level, or at the DAO level, right? So these can be the questions from here, like what is the actual place where you can use this at the rate transactional annotation, and what are the ways in which you can customize it. So the next question was like, global exceptional handling in a Spring Boot application. So again, folks, like if you have multiple endpoints in your service classes, right, and for each of the class if you start writing try catch blocks, then your code will become lot of bloated. Okay, around 30% of the lines in your code will comprise of the try and their respective catch blocks. Okay, so it will not look good in terms of readability also. It will improve, it will increase the code base size, and it is difficult, it is not a good approach. Okay, so rather than using this, okay, we use the global exceptional handling in Spring using the annotations like at the rate controller advice, at the rate controller advice, and at the rate request handler. Okay, so again you should be using this concept if you are already doing the coding global exceptional handling, or if you are preparing for the interview, then it's a good thing to have a look at this concept once. And the next question was like, how to configure Jenkins job. So again, since for the CI/CD purposes nowadays Jenkins is like de facto standard. Okay, so you should be aware, like you cannot just get away with the fact that there is a separate DevOps team who is managing all these things. You should prepare for this question also, like how to create a Jenkins job. And guys, it is not that much difficult creating a Jenkins job. You just need to give a repository path and the post build action. Okay, so basically interviewer will check whether you are aware of all the phases of the application development, including deployment or not. So this is also one of the most important questions that according to me you should prepare, and you should not leave this question like, see, I am not Java developer, why I am doing this. No, you should know everything about your particular artifact, right? And the next question was like, how the deployment happens for application. Okay, so guys, in this particular question, interviewer was asking me like how my application gets deployed to Azure server that I'm using the Azure DevOps. So for your application also, if you are working, then you can prepare the answer of this question, because I have seen some of the developers, even myself, around 3 or 4 years back. I just thought to get rid of this question by saying there is a separate deployment team, or I'm not a part of the deployment team. Okay, and I suppose think that I'm very cool by saying this, but this is not the case right now, because you are the developer and you should be knowing like how your particular application is deployed, even though there might be some separate team for doing this thing for you. But you should have the knowledge like what actually happens to your artifact, how it gets deployed. Okay, so the aim is to have the end to end knowledge of the application. If you explain this question very well to the interviewer, then he will make a he will conclude from this answer of this question like you have a good knowledge on each and every phase, on the coding, on the unit testing, on the deployment. In all the aspects you are good. Okay, so only then he will give you a good solid package with which you can enjoy and rock your life. Okay, so you should prepare this question separately, like how deployment happens for your application. And the next question was like, what is circuit breaker pattern? Okay, so again, circuit breakers are important in microservices, because if one of the service is going down, okay, and if multiple threads are requesting that particular service, then a point will come when your thread pool will get exhausted and your application will become down. Okay, just to avoid these circumstances, we uses the circuit breaker pattern. In high level, I will tell you like, if one of the service is down, okay, suppose this is my service, okay, and multiple threads are requesting this service, and this service is not able to respond to any one of them, right? And so these threads will be occupied because this service is not responding within certified time. So a time will come when these threads will get exhausted. Okay, so the whole purpose of using the circuit breaker, if a service is down for a particular number of threads, I will not call this service anymore for some predefined time. I can define like, I will check this service again after 2 minutes. Okay, like this I can configure. Okay, so it is very good to prepare for this question. And since for this purpose in my application I'm using Resilience 4J, guys. So again, I am explained him like, what are the annotations for Resilience 4J, what is the fallback method, and how to configure Resilience 4J configuration parameters in the YML file. So again, circuit breaker, guys, it is also one of the important question from the microservices perspective, and a similar question that arises out of here. Another important question is, what is rate limiter? I have seen this question. I have given 15 interviews recently, right? So again, I have seen this question multiple times also. Like, what is rate limiter? And again, we can use the resilience 4J for rate limiting also. So it will be good if you prepare this question again. So again, then the interviewer moved towards the security thing. So he asked me like, explain OAuth 2 working. Since I wrote in my resume like I'm using OAuth 2 for the security. So he asked me this question, which I explained. So again, in the recent videos also, I emphasize the importance of security. Okay, because no one likes a developer who just know how to create a API. Okay, you should be knowing how to secure your API, how to access your API on HTTP secured protocol also. So you should be knowing these two things also. Okay, so again I answered this question, and again there is a no shortcut for Spring Security. It is a little bit complicated topic. You have to watch some good Udemy videos and all these things, because once you do it, you can do a course of 4 or 5 hours. I can post a link here. I have done one course. And again, there is no need for you to check these things again and again, because it will stick in your mind, right? So Spring Security, just do spend some 5 or 10 hours on this topic, right? Because it is very important, and in almost all the interviews you will face this question of coming from Spring Security. So again, the next question was like how to implement caching in a Spring Boot application. So guys, again, because to implement increase the performance of your application, you are supposed to use some kind of caching mechanism. And right now, caching you need to implement, because we have a huge loads of data. So for the frequent request, you will cache the data. So again, for caching, we have multiple products coming in the market, like meme cache, Hazelcast, Redis cache. Okay, so again, he asked me this question, and I was using the Redis cache as a for caching mechanism in my application. So I explained him like how to do this. And for you also, even if you are not using caching in your current application, but it is one of the important topic, and there are 80% chances, if your interview is happening from microservices developer, they will ask you about caching, security, and circuit breaker, rate limiter. These questions will they will ask you. And again, the next question was like how to produce and consume in Kafka topic using a Spring Boot application. So for the message queue thing in my application, I am using Kafka. It was written there in my CV. So he was asking me like how to connect. So again, you can read about it using the Kafka template and Kafka listener. We can produce and consume the messages. So this was the last question asked to me in this interview. Interview process was very good. Interviewer was very knowledgeable, and it was a very good discussion. But I wanted to join IBM, but I got some better offer from some other company. That's why I could not. But definitely, it is one of the good companies. And guys, if you like this content, or if you want to just motivate me, if you just want to support me, then please spare 1 second of your valuable time to subscribe to my channel, okay, and like this video and comment this video, because it will increase the customer, I'm saying, it will increase the interaction on the video, and which is good for the algorithm, and definitely this video will get a lot of more views. Okay, so as I already told, like I have given 15 interviews recently. I will make all 15 videos, prepare all these interview questions for 15 videos that I'll make very well, and you will get a good offer from for the Java developer or senior Java developer. Okay guys, thank you, and thanks for your valuable time given to me. Thanks, bye, see you in the next one.